Airsofters? The FAMAS is a rifle that is instantly recognizable. It was featured in video games like Counter-Strike and inspired Halo 2's battle rifle. Not only that, but it was the first automatic electric gun in Airsoft, or AEG. Yes, the first AEG was a version of this right here, the Tokyo Marui FAMAS SV. The SV stands for special version. The SV did a few things like use a handguard here and get rid of the integrated bipod or surrender sticks. The real weapon platform was developed for the French military in the early 70s. And although it fired a 5.56 cartridge, it originally used a proprietary magazine, as is replicated here, and much to the confusion of many airsofters. Because of course they would. They're French. Later versions would eventually switch over to a system that uses standard STANAG mags, and that system was dubbed the G2, which employed some other changes like a full handguard in front of the trigger, like this here, which this rifle also demonstrates. So really, this airsoft replica is sort of a blend between the original FAMAS F1 and the G2 designs of the FAMAS, hence the SV or special version. The FAMAS served the French military all the way until 2017, when rightfully, it was replaced by a real rifle, the HK416. A wise choice. But first, let's go over some of the features of this rifle. Keep in mind that this was the first AEG mass-produced, so a lot of these features are a product of it being the first of its kind, and also the very different design of the FAMAS itself. Externally, it is polymer design, and that is true to form with regard to the real FAMAS. Polymer externals, keeping the weight down, and the bullpup design keeps the weight of the action in the rear, giving you a much more quickly pointable front end. Up top, we've got a carry handle that also doubles as your sights. They are adjustable. If you're wondering if there is an ability to mount accessories like optics, given that there are no Picatinny rails to be seen anywhere on the FAMAS, rest assured there is a Picatinny rail adapter that can be fitted to the top to allow you to attach an aftermarket optic. Up front here, you'll notice that they've swapped out the original bipod with a couple sling points for front and rear slingability on either side, giving this a much more ambidextrous usability. Underneath the barrel and part of the handguard is also doubling as your battery storage compartment, which can be accessed really easily. We'll go over that in the disassembly portion. You'll notice there is a secondary safety just in front of the trigger here that sweeps to one side, allowing you to pull the trigger. The ergonomic pistol grip is pretty comfortable, but unless you have size 9 to 10 hands, you're going to find the finger spacing to be a little bit odd, so maybe not the best for people with small hands. But I really like the enhanced trigger guard as well. Plenty of room for a gloved hand. Just behind that, you've got your mag release and your very interesting FAMAS style magazine, which kind of rolls into place to lock. A removable cover gives you access to your hop-up unit, and further out back here you have a rubberized stock pad with your two rear sling points and your select fire switch. Now, interestingly, on this select fire switch that allows you to select between off, semi, and fully automatic settings, they've also included for the SV a spring detention button, which is a really nice addition to an otherwise all original design philosophy. Now that we've gone over some of the externals, I'm sure the burning question for you is does this work? And yeah, it moves, but all right. One other note on the externals, the charging handle does not operate an action or anything like that. It does purely nothing. It doesn't do, all right, I'll do it again. One other note about the externals, the charging handle doesn't do anything, and that's because your adjustment for your hop-up can be accessed using this removable cover. This is just here to give you something cool to do while you're in respawn. For attaching accessories, you'll notice there is a certain lack of attachment points, and anybody that's familiar with the MP5 or anything that doesn't come standard with a handguard that has attachment points on it, tape is going to be a really close ally of yours, or figure out a ring mount system to maybe attach a flashlight or something. Will it look realistic? Not so much. Will it work well? Heck yeah, it will. Let's take a look at the internals, but first, let's see how it arrives in the box. This airsoft gun ships in some pretty vintage style packaging. Just a foam form with a cardboard lid. Included in the box is an old school loading tool and an adapter that goes from large to small type Tamiya connectors. Also, remember to ditch the BBs that ship in the box with the gun. Yes, even the ones from TM. Real quickly, let's talk about how to access the battery compartment. The same flag that you're using as your secondary safety can be rotated just a little bit further, allowing you to release the battery compartment at the front end of the FAMAS. Like so. Here you'll see your wiring, wired to large type Tamiya. You know, at this time, I'd really suggest going to Dean's, but there is an adapter included for small type Tamiyas. The Tokyo Marui FAMAS uses the version 1 gearbox design. This is where it all began, where all AEGs came from. You'll notice the huge motor, something you might find in an RC car rather than an airsoft gun. Inside is a standard 3-gear system. Now, while these gears and maybe the piston and springs seem to be standard, just about everything else is proprietary. It's safe to say that upgrades for this particular platform won't be easy to come by. Thus, the joys of the version 2 compatible systems that came after it. Welcome to our outdoor shooting facility. Our indoor range isn't quite complete yet, so we're still downstairs in our outdoor shooting area. I've got the OG FAMAS Bullpup AEG. Now this TM is literally the OG, being one of the first, if not, I believe the first Airsoft AEG. It features the version 1 gearbox like we discussed upstairs, and you'll notice ergonomically, besides it being a bullpup, it's lacking all of the accessory mounting positions that you'd find on modern rifles. The 60 round magazine I've loaded with 2 0-gram BBs, and that fits back here, and that's because, you know, it's a bullpup. Simply clicks into place. The 60 rounds are going to go fast. We've got a 7.4 LiPo battery in here, although TM probably would recommend more of an 8.4 NIMH, but the 7.4 is probably fine without any upgrades to the gearbox. But it's TM, so you can probably upgrade the gearbox pretty easily. Couple notes about ergonomics. Bullpups are comfortable rifles to shoulder. They're easy to sight, and because of that bullpup design, you get a longer inner barrel for a relatively compact package. Now, you might be confused into thinking that this is your select fire switch, but that's an additional safety. On the back here is your select fire switch between off, semi, and fully automatic. There's also a little spring detention button here too. Pretty innovative for a platform that's been around since the early 90s, late 80s. But enough talking about it. Let's flip this secondary safety out of the way and get to firing. You know, one of the first things I noticed about the FAMAS in general is how comfortable it is to fire. You don't see a lot of these on the field, and because of its all polymer design, true to the real FAMAS, by the way, that polymer design gives you a really lightweight platform that's really easy to transition between targets, and you won't get fatigued because of the extra weight of a full metal platform. Not to mention its streamlined shape and ergonomics, helped by the fact that they've gotten rid of the surrender sticks on the front. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, no bipods, so that you can set them down and run away. And with that, my 60 round magazine's empty, but that gives us a great opportunity to talk about some of the other accessories or features. First, your rear sight is adjustable for height and features flip up aperture adjustments based on how far away you're shooting. In here, you've also got a holdover from the original design. This is your grenade sight, and because they've eliminated the adjustable collar on the front, you won't really be mounting the grenade launcher to it, but it's nice that they've included that. Your front sight is also adjustable from side to side to fine-tune your accuracy. One thing I will mention is that traditionally with modern airsoft guns, we're used to pulling back on the charging handle to do hop-up adjustments. On the FAMAS, you won't need to do that. In fact, this is purely vestigial. To adjust your hop-up, you'll remove this back cover by snapping this cover open like so, removing it, and you'll see your hop-up adjustment there. If you did want to mount an optic to the FAMAS, which makes it easier to use a mask and things like that, there's a Picatinny rail mount adapter available here at Evike.com that screws onto the top here in about this section. So really convenient and not that expensive. We've moved back out to the 50-foot line, reloaded our magazine with .20 gram BBs. Now this is bone stock version 1 OG FAMAS with a couple of their nice updates to the platform. But let's see what kind of accuracy we're getting at 50 feet right out of the box. Obviously, with two O's outside with a little bit of wind, you're going to get a lot of variation in your side to side or even up and down. But I think at 50 feet, we've got a pretty good test. Let's go check the board. So as you can see, our 50-foot grouping is decent. It's within the A zone with, a couple outliers, and I honestly attribute that to the .20 gram BB being outdoors, where a 2.5 might be more well suited. And that's great at 50 feet. Let's head out to 100 feet and see how consistent we are. We're out at 100 feet. I do want to reiterate, 2.0 gram BBs, bone stock TM. We haven't cleaned the barrel or done any upgrades to it. And these run at about 280 to 290 FPS. So any hits on a body size target, I'm going to be happy with at 100 feet. But let's see how well it does. I gotta say, for how simple these sights are, they're really easy to use and really easy to stay on target. In fact, I'd be willing to bet a couple of my hits remained in the A zone even at 100 feet. Let's go check it out. So first things first, with the exception of a couple shots that were a little high initially, all my hits were on target. You will notice that they didn't really make a huge impact. They didn't go through the cardboard. And that's because, it's an FPS issue and 2.0s and wind and all the other factors. But body size target at 100 feet, this is still a contender to use outdoors as well as indoors. Not to mention, it's just cool. Let's do that chrono test. Time for our chrono test. We've got our X-Cortec X3500 chronograph set up, 2.0 gram BBs in the magazine, and once again to remind us, we've got a 7.4 volt LiPo battery in here. See what kind of numbers we get. Don't you just love TM consistency? Right between 270 and 275. Let's flip this thing to full auto and see what kind of rate of fire we're getting with a 7.4. Right at 14. One of the things I do want to mention about the FAMAS or any bone stock OGTM is because of the standard trigger contacts that have that spade that separates two contact points, you do want to make sure that you're performing a full trigger pull like so and not half stroking it, because doing that can cause you to lock up your gears and then you've got to either disassemble the gearbox or release the tension spring back here, which is a nice feature that they've added on this updated version of the FAMAS. Just something to be aware of while you're firing one of these bad boys. Let's head back upstairs. With all of the modern AEGs available, you might find yourself passing over something like the FAMAS. But it's nostalgia, the originality of its version 1 gearbox, the still practical usability of the bullpup design, and its timeless looks are reason enough to stop and look and potentially add this to your arsenal. To find out more information about Tokyo Marui's FAMAS SV, check it out on our website at Evike.com. Make sure that you're subscribed to all of our social media accounts like Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel here if you love the videos, and click the bell notification to be notified of when we release our latest content. As always, play hard, play safe, play responsibly. See you guys on the field.